Interest rates are going up. Trying to get ahead is mighty, mighty tough. Bill collectors at my door. I need someone to help me raise my credit score.
Welcome to another edition of the Polto Show. Every show is going to get better and better and better. And don't forget, before we start today's show, next week you don't want to miss is the computer show. If you have anything, if you have a new computer, an old computer, you don't know what to do, you don't want to miss next week's show. We have some great shows coming up. If you have a credit problem, don't forget, if to call, go to my website with credit. But if tonight's show is different, and why it's different, especially not for me and not for my guest. If you remember the songs and dances in the earlier years, don't change the channel. But if you were born and then missed it, if you were born later than the 50s and 60s and 70s, you're going to want to see what you missed. You know, this is why the stars and the singers of the era still has an impact on the people. Did you ever wonder, why the rock and roll will never, never go away? The baby boomers will keep this generation alive as well. And I hope after the baby boomers, rock and roll will still be around. Remember Fabian, Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell? The list goes on and on. And then there was the groups, the Marvelettes, to be an example. And then there was the dances that made their mark. The line dance, remember that? The jitterbug, the stroll. And then there was famous groups. The dances, there was one group called the Dovells. And that dance was the Bristol Stomp. If you heard that song, we were dancing on the streets. Tonight, we're doing a show, not only how these groups were formed and what became of them, but who's trying to keep them alive. And these are the people that are important today, not the groups anymore, the people that are keeping them important. The Dovells were once, they were called, if you didn't know, the Brooktones. And do you remember? I do. It was my parents' address. 123 with Len Barry. Remember that song? Well, he was part of the Dovells. And back in those days, if you sang on the street in South Philly, you were a teen idol. And the only way you could get next to these idols was to join a fan club. And then you were a part of history. Well, my guest today went through different stages with this. I have pictures of her in bleachers of the American Bandstand, 1961 even. She was not a regular, but how did you become a regular? Well, you had to go every day until Dick Clark recognized you, and then all the viewers would watch you and know your name. And some became celebrities overnight, and some just danced on the show. Me, myself included. I have many questions to ask my guest. Why? Because from Bandstand, she became a fan of the Dovells, but didn't want to stop there. She became the president of the fan club. Her name is Bonnie Nately, but she was born in Philadelphia. She won jitterbug contests. I did too in Philadelphia, but that doesn't make you a star. She didn't do it all for a living though. Her livelihood, she taught special education. I think everybody should know that, not just associate her with the Dovells. She taught special education for 30 years, and people will never remember her for that. And that's pretty sad because it's important all by itself. But they will remember her. It was a special job because she worked with children with disabilities. Her heart and soul was with dancing. And if you are from that era, you're going to understand it. I know my father used to every Saturday put rock and roll music on, made a step on his shoes, and he danced. And that's how we learned to dance. And then we watched, naturally, every regular on Bandstand. Why? When I watched it every day, I was not a regular. But to my surprise, after the years, I became a talk show host on the radio. WZZD, WFIL, WHAT, and some of the regulars were on my show. And some made it in the business and went beyond their field of their regular jobs. And I was honored. That the bandstanders, some of the regulars, they honored me to be the MC for the Bandstand anniversary of Dick Clark. And many of my admirers that I watched through the years asked me to be MC. That was my big thing because one of the groups that went on and on never faded away, and that was the Dovells. Why? Their dance, like Chubby Checker. His was the twist. My guest never got the spotlight of her accomplishment through the many years. Dance parties, televisions. Today, we're going to give her the opportunity to know, who is this person? Who's this person that made the Dovelles? And I'm going to say made the Dovelles because everybody has to have a marketing department, if you can sing or not. And the reason why I'm saying this, I have many questions. I've received many emails. And the reason why I'm saying this is because back in those days, everybody was a singer. And I was even a singer. I have a record I'm going to be giving to Bonnie. And I hope she makes me a fan club. She's president of my fan club. But my record was When You're Young and in Love. Well, actually, that was brought back. But the one I wrote and who my producer was Frank Virtue. And he was the head of Guitar Boogie Shuffle. Many of you remember him. Many of you didn't. I did attend his funeral. But he made my day because even though I do credit, I'm a credit expert now. I'm a paralegal now. I do everything now. I'm an author now. But in my heart was the music. You never take the music away. And I want to introduce my guest, and you see her all over Facebook, and it's so a privilege to see her today in person because today I want to set the record straight. This person, I always say, give credit where credit is due. I think today she deserves all these years the credit, and she's going to get the credit tonight. Welcome, Bon.
Thank you. Welcome.
First of all, I received so much email when they said I was having you on. First, wow. I want to know who you really are. I said you worked at for special education, but how did you get to where you were? Like, tell us a little story of how you got from there to school, to Bandstand, to the Dovelles. What happened?
Okay, well, let me start way in the beginning. I always loved to dance.
Okay.
I went to dancing school when I was 6 years old, and I just always loved to dance. I think I danced before I walked. And,
okay.
And
the jitterbug or the Bristol stop?
No, just I don't know. I went to dancing school for toe, tap, ballet.
So did I.
Did you?
We all had to get our shoes.
That's right.
Oh my God, just bringing back memories. But
yes.
Go ahead.
And from there, then when I was about 11 years old, I used to come home from school and watch American Bandstand.
Yes.
Well, it was Bandstand back then.
Yes.
And I used to dance with my older sister. We used to,
right
listen.
From the TV?
Yes. Or else the refrigerator door handle.
we had the broom. We had the broom.
Right. Or the banister for the stairs going up. Anyway, I just always loved to dance. And when I was 15 years old, I decided to try to go to Bandstand one day. And we went there and we waited in line, but we didn't get in. And the boys were on one side of the door, I remember, and the girls were on the other side. And we waited for hours, but we just didn't get in that day. So we had to get home.
So you had to wait into a line?
Yes.
And if your number was called, how did it work?
Well, no, it was just if you got there early enough, if you were in front of the line, you could get in.
They let you in.
Right. It was just who got there first. Of course, if you were a regular, you just walked in.
Really?
Yes.
Now, can you say when you were a regular, so the regulars had to go there, every day and before the years for them to become regulars?
Well, I think they would go there just about every day.
Okay.
And they probably lived closer to the studio than I did. And they would go there, and eventually they were seen by many people on the TV, and they were recognized. They started getting fan mail, and that's how they became a regular.
So if you weren't a regular, you had to stand in this long line?
Yes.
Get out.
Yes. And also I do believe that I had read somewhere that Dick Clark started having regulars to make sure there would be people at the show all the time.
Okay.
Because let's say it was a snowstorm, and people couldn't get there, he would know for sure that the regulars would be there. So there would be somebody there dancing.
Oh, wait a minute. If you had to wait in this long line,
yes.
How did you get into the first row here? I did some homework here.
Okay, well, let me tell you. A couple of weeks later, I went back with my friends, and we were able to get in. And, I loved it when I walked in and I saw everything in color. It was just so fascinating because we saw everything in black and white in our little TV sets. And when I got in and I saw everything and I started dancing, I had a great time. I wanted to go back. I knew, I just
Now, wait a
love
minute.
it.
You said you started dancing. Who were you dancing with? Did a guys ask you to dance, or you had to dance with your friends?
I went there with a few friends, so we jitterbugged. Okay. And if a guy asked me to dance, I would dance with him.
Okay.
it was just really, it
But it
was
was
just so
fun.
much fun.
It was fun.
It was so much fun.
But how did you get in the first row?
Okay, well, what happened is that day when I was ready to leave, I was sitting in the bleachers, and somebody came over. I think it was the director. I can't remember, and he gave out something called reservation cards, and he would say, who can come to the show next Monday? And I would raise my hand, and he would give me a card. And he'd say, who could come next Tuesday? And I would raise my hand. I would get as many cards as I could, and I would accumulate them.
Yeah.
Because with the reservation card, you did not have to wait in line.
Oh.
So that's why it was important to get them. So
How big was this place?
It wasn't that big. It wasn't as big as you would think it was on TV. I think it held maybe 150 people. I'm not sure.
How were the regulars there that you met?
How were they?
How were they there? I mean, back in those days, this Justine, and they look so different on television. I mean, when I met them in person, but they're so different. How were they?
Well, first of all, I think Justine wasn't. I was there in 1961. I don't remember seeing her there. Maybe she stopped going.
How many times did you go?
I went, I would say, about 36 times. I went I would say, approximately 3 times a month. More in the summer, less in the winter. I'm saying approximately. I don't have a calendar for 1961.
Did you ever get aggravated that they didn't make a regular out of you? The cameras or the fans or anything?
No.
Or you didn't care because you were just dancing?
I just went there to dance. I always loved to dance. And no, I never expected to be a regular. No.
Okay. Now, see, I would have. I would have said to the cameras, and I would have done everything to say, hey, look at me. Look at me.
Well, maybe if I had lived closer. Because I did become friendly with a girl. Her name was Paula Capico. And she was not a regular when I was friends with her. But then she continued going, and I stopped, and she did become a regular, and she won the mashed potatoes contest. And in fact, I reconnected with her, I can't remember, maybe 8 years ago, and we became friends again. But unfortunately, she was diagnosed with leukemia and passed away.
Okay. Now, my next question is, how did you become from there? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know how it would work, and I'm pretty inventive, but how would you, from there, pick a group, or did they pick you?
Well, what happened is I always loved the Dovells, and I always...
I love Bobby Rydell and Frank Yellow, but they wouldn't choose me. So.
Well, I always loved them. I always loved the Bristol Stomp. I always loved their songs. And I would follow them when they had concerts, in the area.
Okay,
this is in the 70s. Okay. We went to the Sheraton, there was a club there called Cahoots. It was 1979, and I went there and I saw them. They were in the lounge at the Sheraton, and I believe it was in Valley Forge. But so it wasn't until recently that I became the president of their fan club.
How, when you say recently, years later or years ago?
No, years ago. I met them in July of 2011. Okay. So just last year. What happened is I was at I was at a concert at the Ridley High School. Okay. They had a special event for the FOP. It was a concert, a benefit for them. And I had known about this, and I was promoting it a little bit on Facebook. And so I had gotten in touch with Mark Stevens and Jerry Gross and told them that, I'm promoting it. And they said, oh, thank you. That's nice. And I said, I'll be there. And, and I love to dance. I love the Bristol Stomp. And so at the concert, there were other performers, and when they were finished and the Dovells got on stage, they sang a couple songs, and then when they got to the Bristol Stomp, they said, I think it was Mark, stood up and said, is Bonnie out there in the audience? And I was like, oh my gosh, and I stood up, and then he said, come on the stage and show us how to do the Bristol Stomp. So I did. Wow. I went on the stage and I did it, and my husband Joe took a video clip of it with our digital camera, and I put that on YouTube, and that's really how it began. And then we became friends because I wrote to them and I thanked them for having me on this stage with them. I thought it was so much fun. And then Mark asked if I would consider being the president of their fan club and communicating with their fans and, helping them that way. And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, that would be great. I would like to do that for fun. I mean, that would be wonderful. So I started doing that.
Now, you do know you were helping them out as well.
That's okay. Yes.
I mean, I know you know. You have to know.
Well, that's okay.
Honored. You were honored because they chose you.
Yes.
But I would have to say, what do they want me for? Well,
I guess they thought that I was very enthused
about them,
and I promoted them.
Yes,
yes, exactly. And so then I told them, but it's okay to have a fan club, but we can't do it like they did it in the 60s, where people sent you $10 and you sent them a picture and a buyer, because people could find that on the internet.
Yes.
So we decided to do it on the internet, on Facebook. So we have a page which is called the Dovell's official site, and it's on Facebook, and anybody could go there and like the page. And I put up a whole bunch of pictures and articles, and the Dovell's, put up things, and it's grown from 40 likes to, I think, 1,130.
Do you go to
something
all
like
their
that.
concerts?
If they're close by. Now,
they're
since
close by.
then, I've gone to about 6 of them in the Philadelphia area, and every time they call me up to the stage to do the Bristol Stomp. And they gave me the nickname Bristol Stomping Bonnie.
So it was the Dovell's that gave you
Yes,
the
absolutely.
nickname.
Yes.
So I bet you were honored with that.
Oh, I was. And we get along really great, and they're great guys. And I love doing it. I love being involved with their fans. I talk to their fans. They get in touch with me if they want a picture, an autographed picture, or if they want to know anything about the Dovell's, they'll write to me. And then if I can't answer it, I send.
Well, you stood out in my eyes. You stood out in my eyes because, and if you notice, like when you said, well, do you want any of the Dovell's there? No, I wanted you there.
I know.
And you know
Thank
what?
you.
And I'm saying, why is she asking me if I want the Dovell's there? I don't want the Dovell's. There's no offense. But I wanted to know a history on how it grows.
Right.
How somebody wants to become a president, wants to be head of a fan club, how dedicated they are. Mm-hmm. And of all the groups out there, when we come back, I'm going to talk her into being a fan club and the president of mine when we come back. And then I have something to give her at the same time. Maybe I'll convince her to be the president of my fan club because she's doing a great job for the Dovell's. We'll be right back.
There's nothing more disruptive and annoying than getting an automated call to your cell phone. There are laws against companies using computers or recorded messages to call you on your cell phone without your permission. This is consumer protection attorney Carrie Flitter. You've heard me as a guest on the Pearl Polto Show. There are consumer laws in place that prohibit many of the unwanted calls to your cell phone. If you're receiving unwanted or unauthorized calls, whether collection, selling products or services, or otherwise, you may be entitled to have these calls stopped and to collect money damages that the law provides. If you're getting unwanted or pre-recorded calls to your cell phone, contact us, the Consumer Protection Lawyers at Flitter Lorenz, at 888-668-1225. That's 888-668-1225, or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill.
Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. We got a great show coming on. Don't forget, next week is the computer show, and that computer show is going to be, you don't want to miss this. We got a lot of great shows coming up. The cancer show. The fireman will be back. Fireman Mike will be back at the end of the month. We got some great shows coming up. But tonight's show, we got a really great show. And when we were at the break, I said, when we come back, I got many emails, questions to ask of Bonnie. But I want to stop because I want to give her something. When I was the MC of the 50th anniversary of Bandstand, thanks to the Bandstanders, it was Arlene Sullivan, actually, that came up to me, and she said, "You're the celebrity, not me." And I said, "No, you're the celebrity," because to me, she was a celebrity. And it was really an honor. So I know how Bonnie feels with dealing with the Bandstanders and the regulars, because it was an honor. I mean a true honor for them to say, we want for you to MC at the King of Prussia, the Dick Clark. And I had so many of them, and I don't want them all to go to waste, but I am giving you one on the 50th anniversary.
Wow, thank you.
It was Dancing Was Our
Thank
Drug
you.
Choice with
Uh-huh.
the Bandstanders.
Thank you.
That's one. The other thing I'm going to make you, actually, it's going to be of the Enough is Enough, Pearl Polto.
No.
So the president of Enough is Enough. That's my latest book. Enough is Enough. Are we doomed?
I love it. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I mean, you can be my fan club any day. The
Okay,
president.
Thank
with
you.
It.
I mean, but just might. Can I wear this even though I was not a regular?
I'm not a regular either, and I have.
Oh, okay.
I have mine.
All right, I
on.
have your permission.
Yes, I have mine
All right.
on, and
Everybody
I wasn't a
hear
regular.
that out there? I have Pearl's permission.
Bonnie, you're more to me than a regular of the Dovell's or the dancing of the Bristol Stomp or even a Bandstand. You don't have to be a part of history to be history. And I've always said you have to, if you're a part of history, if you were even there one time at Bandstand or there with the Dovells, I think it's an honor to say I was a part of that. It's like seeing John F. Kennedy for the first time. It's not saying you follow him around, but you've seen him and you have that thing in your head that I can tell everybody, I can tell the world. No one should stop you from telling the world. If I seen the president, if I seen anybody that's even famous, I want to tell the whole world, or if I want to be a part of it, like the MC. Like I want everybody to know, hey, you chose me for MC, if you like it or not. It's over and done with. But the thing is, it's people chose you, and they chose you for a reason. And that reason is, but before I go to the emails, I have a question to ask you because I've been watching you and looking at you as you're answering me. What's the flower in the hair for? What's the flower for?
The flower. Okay. My mom always loved to wear a flower in her hair. Okay. She just always did. And I can remember going to the mall, going to the movies with her, just her coming over to my house. And she would always have a flower in her hair. And she passed away. And I was going to a BCTV luau dance, and I put a flower in my hair for the luau. And I said, Mom, this is for you. And ever since that day, I bought a couple little flowers, and in the morning I put it on, and I say, Mom, this is for you. And it makes me feel like she's with me.
When did she die?
1998.
1998.
So it's been about 12 years.
How old was she when she
79.
79 with it. Yeah, there's a lot, and she's in your memory.
Yes, and this is it's a memory, and it reminds me of her.
And it does work. Believe me, it does work. And she's watching over you.
Thank you. I hope so. Yes,
I feel it. I see it. She's watching over you, and I think that's why this show is tonight. Because she's watching over you. Because my mother, she gave us a yellow rose, and that rose blooms even in the winter. It blooms, so it's like she's watching over.
Exactly.
So yeah, for people, and we're going to be doing a show on that soon as well, though. But these are the questions that came in. Some of them these are interesting questions too, because I don't know why they put her in with Bandstand. I mean, she went to Bandstand, but she wasn't a regular. I went to band one time. I wasn't a regular. When did you first go to When did you first go to the Bandstand show?
Well, 1961, when I was 15 years old.
And that's this picture that I have right in front of me. She's sitting with her pompadour, with her teased hair, as we all had it, the page boy fluff. Remember that?
Yes,
the page boy?
Yes.
Well, it's so interesting when we see ourselves. We thought we were sharp then.
That's right. That's
we
right.
thought we were sharp.
That's right. This happened. I was at the Broadcast Pioneers. It was on a Wednesday, April the 18th, and I came home, and somebody called me on the phone and said that Dick Clark had passed away. And I said, oh my gosh, you're kidding. So I went to the computer and I went to Facebook, and there was a message on Facebook for me, and it said, this is from NBC 10 Philadelphia. And I said, yeah, right. So I go, and it says, please call us. We want to talk to you. So I said, okay. So I picked up the phone. I had my jacket on. I hadn't even taken off my jacket. And I figured it was a friend. And I figured somebody's going to say, ha, 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 you thought this was NBC 10. But instead, there was this woman. Her name was Karen. And she said to me, this is NBC 10, and we want to interview you. And I said, oh my gosh, all right. And I said, that would be great. So she asked me a few questions about Bandstand. And then she said to me, I said, where would this be? And she said, we're going to put it on our website, on NBC website. I said, that's wonderful. She said, and now we want to come over and do a live interview with you. Okay. And I said, no, I don't want that. And she said,
why didn't you want that?
Because I felt live interviews should be just for the regulars.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it.
They couldn't get through to any of the
Well,
regulars.
they did. After that, I told her, I said, get in touch with the regulars and they'll be happy to do it. And she said she would. And that was it. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't feel it was my place. I liked it on the website. I liked the article. I liked what she wrote. And that's just what I wanted.
That's humble. That's humble of you. But that was one of the questions. The other question, did Dick Clark say anything to the dancers while they were dancing? That's interesting because I would like to know that.
Dick Clark would say, he was always busy and he was always on the phone. If you remember, he was talking to the director, Ed Yates, in the control room. I think they were talking about last minute plans or last minute changes. But when we would be dancing to close to the camera or on the camera for too long of a time, he would tell us to move back, and you wouldn't hear it on because he would say it in a microphone that only the dancers would hear it, no, not the home viewers. So sometimes he would ask me to move back, and if he knew the regulars, if he knew their name, he would call them by name to move back. So sometimes when you watched the old American Bandstand clips, video clips, you'll see a regular or a dancer just move back, and he'll say, like, the girl with the big hair, which he would say to me, or the girl with the red shirt, the girl with the yellow ribbon in her hair, whatever he could say, move on back, you've been on the camera too long. And he wanted everybody to have a chance to be on the camera, to be seen.
Free time with it.
Right.
What dances, back in those days, what dances in the 60s? I mean, all I did was, I think I did it all.
Yeah, well, there was, let's see, the twist. My favorite is the jitterbug, the stroll.
The jitterbug, I don't think will ever go away.
No, I love that. The stroll, the monkey, the pony, the mashed potatoes, the calypso, the cha-cha.
Now, that place was
the
so
fly.
small.
Yeah, it was small.
We did an anniversary. As a matter of fact, you sent a picture, and I emailed it back to you. I didn't even know I was there. I was there with Mike Nice.
Right,
and
right.
And when you said, "Is that you?" and I said, "Yeah,"
yes.
I didn't even know that was me. But I went to that event, but the place was so small.
Right.
What performers did you see there?
Okay, let's see.
Where did they play at? I mean, the place was so small.
I can't remember all of them, but and how I can remember some of them is just that they made an impression, and the other ones, a friend of mine who I used to go to Bandstand with kept a list of all of the entertainers we saw.
Okay.
And I met up with her a few years ago. She still had the list, and she made a copy for me. So that's how I remember. But I know Danny and the Juniors. They sang Cha-Cha Go-Go.
After at the Hop.
Right.
Yep.
And I saw Larry Chance and the Earls, Life is But a Dream.
Okay. Now, who was your dad? Your dad interviewed or did an interview with Dick Clark.
Yes.
But who was your
dad? My dad was... his name was Harry Natalie, and he wrote for newspapers in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And he had a column called "Scene Around with Harry Natalie," and it was Scene, SCENE.
That's
around.
where you get the publicity things that you took after your father.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all in the genes. And he would interview people, and he would put their interview in the paper. And he interviewed Dick Clark. And he took a picture of himself with Dick Clark after the interview. And I still have that interview. I still have it in the newspaper at home. And that was in 1977 when he interviewed Dick Clark. And I saw Dick Clark in 1997 at the Bandstand Grill at King of Prussia.
Yes.
And I went up to him and I showed him the picture. He said, "Oh, I remember your dad." He said, "And I remember that suit I was wearing in the picture. It was a white suit." And I said, "Would you sign it for me?" And he did. And I told him I used to dance on Bandstand. I wasn't a regular, but I danced. And we talked a little bit. And that was really nice meeting him then. And that's my dad.
Interesting. It also has a question here, which I'm not familiar with. It says, "Tell me about you becoming a regular dancer on the BCTV Dance Party TV show in Reading." What's that all about?
Okay. For about the past 2 years, I've been a regular dancer on a TV show, and it comes from Reading, Pennsylvania. And
it's television?
Yeah, it's on television in Reading, Pennsylvania, and in Berks County.
Okay.
Okay, and it's called BCTV Studio Dance Party, and BCTV stands for Berks Community Television. And I dance with my dance partner, David Fries.
Now, he's your dance partner, right?
Yes.
How did you choose him?
Okay, David and I have been friends for many years, and he's the president of the American Bandstand Fan Club. And he's been the president for since 1960. And he and I became friends, and he's been asking me to go to these dances in Reading. They're called open dances. They have 4 a year, and that's not the studio dance. That's anybody could go to the open dances. Right. The studio dances is just about 12 couples because it's a very small studio. So I went to the open dance, and I met David, and we were dancing. And then when we left, the host of the show, Joe Frankowiak, asked if maybe we could be on the studio dances, and I thought about it, and I said, "Oh, okay." So we went there. First, we were guest dancers one time, and then after that, we became regular dancers. That's what it was. And I've been going, it's once a month, and I love it. And we dance to all the oldies. They have a DJ named MZ Hammer, and the producer is a woman named Jenny Hoffmaster, and the host is Joe Frankowiak. And we just have a really nice time for the hour.
To me, the definition of celebrity is when you're out in the public all the time. The public sees you, no matter here or there, internet, whatever. But you're so humble. You don't think yourself as a celebrity.
No, not at all.
I know you don't. And I can relate to it a little bit. I can relate to it. And I can relate to it because one time, as I said, I did a show with Bandstanders. And it was Arlene Sullivan, if she's watching. And I said, it's an honor to meet you. And she said, Pearl, you're the one that's a celebrity. And I said, I'm not a celebrity. And she said, yeah, you're an author, you're a talk show host or this. But the same as you, maybe we're so humble that we don't see us and we see everybody else as the stars. We're not getting the proper recognition. And I'm going to recognize you right now. You got to do it to me too.
I recognize you too.
Yeah, well, because there's so much, and I did say I wrote a record. I'm also going to give you, and I hope you have a 45.
I do.
Because I'm going to give
Thank you so
the
much.
record
Thank
that I wrote.
you.
Do you
Thank
remember
you.
Frank Virtue?
Can you autograph it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Do you remember Frank Virtue?
Yes.
Of Guitar Boogie Shuffle?
Yes,
He was the one.
sure.
Well, in those days, I was a waitress. And in those days, I loved dancing and singing. And it was Frank Virtue that said, I want to those recording studios downtown where you paid for a piano and and I said, I want this to be played in the jukebox where I work. No one even knows what a jukebox is. We got dungarees on today. No one even knows what dungarees is today. But the thing is,
That's right.
and when I went to his, the studio said, go up on Broad Street and ask for this guy Frank. And I went up there and I said, I want this into a 45 to play on the jukebox. So I thought, he's going to discover me. I know it. When back in those days you sang on the corner?
Yes.
I thought, he's going to discover me just by playing it. Well, he didn't do it. He was on the phone. And he was on the phone for an hour.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's okay. Then after I got off the phone, he looked at me and he said, where's this going? I said, into a jukebox. And he said, how serious are you about music? I said, how serious? I'm sitting here for a whole hour waiting for it. And he said, be here Monday morning at 7 o'clock. And the rest was history because Sam Peake was he put in a whole orchestra in back of me. And we became the really best of friends.
Oh, that's
me
great.
And Frank Virtue.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Eddie Hallman, used to go in
Yes,
there and
I
he used to
remember him.
say,
Yes.
Eddie Hallman said, Pearl, I'm not going to, I'm going to make one record for Eddie Hallman and that's it, because he was scared of the drugs and everything else with it. And the first thing Frank said to me, you're not on drugs, are you? I think people out there has to know what's going to happen to the Dovells, what's going to happen to these groups when we're not around, making them big.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's going to happen when the baby boomers get to the age? The younger people are into everything else but Jitterbug. I go to the Broadcast Pioneer, as you do, and I look around and I'm saying, what's going to happen after all these ancient celebrities are not around?
Well, maybe it'll become elevator music. They'll play it on the elevators. I don't know.
I think it's pretty sad. We have a lot of icons, and I'm hoping the kids of tomorrow,
I do.
Please, if you didn't like the Jitterbug, this is why I think we should have something now in the Philadelphia area.
Absolutely.
And I think we should have a dance party of just Jitterbugs. I don't care how old you are. And it's interesting because of all the singers and the dancers, like Bobby Rydell, Frankie Avalon, Fabian, and you see them all now on Facebook, and you're saying, wow, you couldn't even touch them.
Well, I think the songs will last forever. And I think people, even after we're gone, even the younger generation, they'll remember them. Just like we hear big band music.
Right.
The songs from and I think they'll always be here. I think they'll just be the oldies, just like I said, with the big band music that our parents listened to, and we listened to it. We still have
it. What makes rock and roll so big? What do you think makes rock and roll so big with jitterbugging and stuff? What makes it so big?
It was our time. It was, it was something that we grew up with, and I think it's the music. I think it's just, it was the right time for it. It was the right time for American Bandstand. Timing is everything in life, and I think it's just something that we can relate to. The baby boomers relate to rock and roll. It's our music. I mean, our parents had the big band, and we have the rock and roll.
But you pick like every group. We pick like Chubby Checker, the Twist. I don't know any other song, and yet there's every song. The Dovells, the Bristol Stomp, they're going to remember you by doing the Bristol Stomp. And it's crazy because the Bristol Stomp's from Bristol.
Right.
Langhorne.
Right,
And
exactly.
it didn't even dawn on me.
Yes,
Hello?
right. That's
Where's
right.
this Bristol Stomp coming from?
That's
It's not coming
right.
from California.
Well, actually, the Bristol Stomp started at the Goodwill Firehouse in Bristol, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were
Probably there.
yeah, probably were. And the kids were doing this stomp dance, and the Dovells were recording another song, and someone from the record company, I believe, came over to where they were recording and said, I was at this Goodwill Firehouse, and the kids were all stomping to this song. And they really like it, and so from there they made the Bristol Stomp.
Well, how did they introduce it? Who introduced it? Was it the kids or was it the Dovells that said, let's make this into a song?
Well, I think it was the kids were dancing, were doing it, the stomp, and they were doing it to a song called "Every Day of the Week" by the students, and the kids loved it. They made up the Bristol Stomp, and then they were doing the stomp, and then when they made the song, they were going to call it the Goodwill Stomp, but they didn't like that title, so they changed it to the Bristol Stomp.
Okay.
And that's how it got started.
Stomp. Can you imagine? Can you imagine all the Goodwill stores out there? I mean, the Goodwill Stomp. If the Dovells weren't around, what other group would you have been attracted to back in those days? And to say, I would want to be honored to be the president of their fan club.
There's
so many groups I know.
So many.
But what other group besides the Dovells would you have chosen? Like my big thing back then was Elvis.
You know what? I would have chosen the Tridells. That's a group that you don't really hear too much
Never
of.
even heard
But
of
my
them.
good friend Mike Beauvais sang in it, and I would promote them. Yes, because they need promoting, and that's why I wouldn't. I like their songs, and Gene Arnold was their manager way back when, and I always like to promote, someone who I feel needs the promoting, and I think that's what I would do.
What do you want most for the people worldwide to remember you by and to know you by? And the honest truth in this, what do you want them to remember you by when we're dead and gone? What do you want them to say when they hear your name?
I want them to think that I was a good person, a peaceful person.
Well, that's only honor. I'm saying of the music world.
The music world.
What do you want them to say? Because all your friends would know you're a good person. Your fans wouldn't. So what would you want them to remember you by?
That I'm Bristol Stompin' Bonnie. That I Bristol stomped on stage with the Dovells.
Okay. So the name more so that you would want them to say, I've known her as, and this is her calling in life was the Bristol Stomping Bonnie. Because that's an honor. That's an honor. And I believe, and I'm not sure if this has happened, but the Dovells should have, bannered this to all their studios or songs or whatever. Have they ever? Have they ever bannered you to say the Bristol Stomp, before they appeared on?
Well, when I'm there, and when they're on stage, they call me up and they say, Bristol Stompin' Bonnie coming up on the stage, and they introduce me and they tell everybody I'm the president of their fan club. I'm not part of the Dovells at all.
Well, that you know.
But I just do the Bristol Stomp with them when I can, whenever it's possible.
How close are you to any member of the band?
We're friends.
So you're friends, good friends, or?
We're friends, yes. We're good friends. I call them when I need to ask them something, and they call me when they want me to promote something, or they need to tell me something about the fans. And, and we get along, very well.
Are you still working on your regular full-time job or no?
No, I retired in 2008.
You retired 2000. Now, you see, that was a job all by itself.
Yes.
Are you, to me, you should be flattered because your picture is on all the internet. Your picture's on the internet, on the front row, and I'm amazed because I look at these and I'm saying, I don't recognize any of these people here.
That was in a magazine. That picture was in a magazine.
Oh, okay.
And that's a story behind that, too. That was in a magazine that I had gotten for a friend. She couldn't find it. She lived in New York. She couldn't find it, so she asked me to find this American Bandstand magazine. I happened to see it in the store, and I bought 2 of them, and I sent her the copy, and then I was looking through mine late at night. And I saw this picture of this girl sitting on the bleachers, and I'm thinking, that's what I would look like, if I was, when I was 15 years old. And I'm looking, and then I recognize this top, and I recognize the shoes. I went, oh my gosh, that's me. I woke up my husband, I said, I can't believe my picture's in this magazine. So if you look at the picture, the complete picture, on the other side is Johnny Crawford doing rope tricks with Dick Clark. So that's why we were looking so bored, because we wanted to dance and he was doing rope tricks.
Yeah, it looks like, I was wondering, that was my next question, because you all looked bored.
Right, well, that's why we were watching them do rope tricks. But then what I did was a couple of days later, I looked on the internet to see if I could find Johnny Crawford's address, because I was going to write to him and tell him that his picture was in this magazine. So I found a phone number, and I called it, and I thought for sure I would find his secretary, get his secretary. And instead, he answered the phone, and I said, hello, and he said, yes, and this is Johnny Crawford. I went, oh my gosh, well, and then I explained to him who I was and about the picture. And he said he did not know about it, and he was so glad I had called to tell him. And then he said he remembers being on Bandstand that day because he was in New York, and it was when around the same time when his friend Gary Cooper, his favorite actor, Gary Cooper, passed away. It was May of 1961. Okay. And from there, he went to Bandstand. So and then I sent him a copy of the picture. He autographed it and sent it back to me, and I have it hanging up in my computer room. So it was really nice talking to him. In fact, I sent him a message about a month ago, just asking him how he is, and he wrote back and said he appreciates what I'm doing.
I think it's great. This is great what you're doing, though. But as I talk to you, and I talked to you in the past, you feel so I can't say the words humble. It's like you back up, and you shouldn't. But I wanted to know why you back up. I mean, you're
because I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I don't feel like I'm special. I feel like I'm just helping people. And, when I worked with special education for 30 years,
Elvis Presley was at the Spectrum. I seen it. I was special because I did see him. So that's what I'm talking about. I was special. Many of you didn't see Elvis. I did. Not once, but twice. That's what I meant. Like when you do something that, you remember and you want others to remember that everything that you've done, you want them to remember the good side
right.
of what's going on out there. And only you can project out there what really happened. Like all the questions I'm asking, I can only imagine. I can only ask these questions because I want to picture myself. I want to picture myself in those bleachers.
But I danced on Bandstand. I was not a regular, again, I will say. I was not a regular. Hear me out there.
Well,
okay.
I wasn't a regular either, but I was a regular watching. I was a regular watching.
Okay, but I was a dancer, like hundreds of other dancers that danced on the show. We just all liked to dance. I mean, we weren't all. The show wasn't just regulars. It was regulars and dancers.
Have you ever stayed tuned to any of the regulars there? Do they, do you ever talk to the regulars?
A few of them.
So how far did they come? Are they at the same jobs, or did they get further, or they look at you with the Dovels now? I mean, is there any, there has to be something, because when somebody, to me, I would just say move on. And because you are moving on, you're with the Dovels, and
BCTV dance party,
and the dance
I love
parties.
that.
You're still going to those dance parties?
Yes, I'll be going next Tuesday.
Now, when you go there,
yes, let me say it's on Tuesday, the third Tuesday of every month,
right?
And people in Reading and Berks County can watch it on their cable TV.
What channel?
That I don't know because it's a lot.
She's really tuned.
There's a lot of. You could go to BCTV. I love BCTV Dance Party, and it's all written there. It's a group page.
BCT
TV Dance Party.
BCT Dance Party, and you're on there every week dancing.
No, once a month.
Once a month. Okay.
It's the third Tuesday of every month, and it comes on from 9 o'clock at night to 10.
9 to 10.
Right, and it's you can watch it on the internet. www.bctv.org, and it's a community television station, and it comes on live.
Now,
there.
What do they have there? A disc jockey, or
they have a disc jockey named MZ Hammer, and they play the oldies, and we do line dances, and we do jitterbugs, cha-cha, and slow dances, and I dance with David Freeze.
Okay, you dance with a guy named David Freeze.
Yes.
Is he a regular of anything, or is
well,
he your partner?
He's my partner.
He's your partner with it. Now, this is aired at all times with it. Do they have guests there as well?
No. It's just
More
an
like a
hour
dance party?
and they have people calling in. You can call into the show. So they have viewers call into the show to say hi or
So you could become a regular.
I am a regular on that show.
Okay.
Yay! Yes! I finally became a regular.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If those of you that did not hear the following sentence, please let us repeat it.
I am a regular dancer on BCTV Dance Party, and so was David Freeze. We are both regulars.
That's an honor.
Yes.
Now, that should be an honor. So,
yes,
see, I
it was an honor.
Personally, I'm going to say to everybody out there, I think I always say give credit where credit's due, and I think you earned it.
Thank
and
you.
I think you earned it because I'm looking at this picture, and this is not you, but you earned it because you went from there, you stepped, all the way up to the top, and I always say in my business, in the music field, in the credit field, that you have to fight for what you believe in, and you have to give credit where credit's due.
Right.
I think you didn't get the credit where it was due, and you can't go through life and then say, no one recognized me to the point of what I really did in life. And there has to be a point in everybody's life to say you earned it. You're going to get your stripes. You earned it. Mm-hmm. And you have to believe it too.
Right.
So when you do shows, when you do dances, that you're so proud to say, hey, everybody's watching. I went to a BJ's one time, and I'm walking the store, and this guy was staring at me and staring at me and staring at me. And I had an attitude that morning. And I looked at him and I said, do you have a problem? And he said, I'd seen you on Channel 10 this morning. I said, oh, excuse me, how to put another face on. So, but you forget. You forget, because you are in the forefront, you are out there, people will recognize you, mm-hmm. and you have to know they recognize you for the right reasons and not for wrong reasons.
Right.
You have to look at the positive and not the negative of things.
Right.
And I think it's an honor. It's an honor having you on this show.
Thank you.
Because, I normally do serious shows, as you see, controversy shows. But I wanted to do this show so bad because I'm a music lover, as you see.
Right.
I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a singer. Where do you hear it?
I can't wait.
Where do you hear it? But I stopped it. I stopped the music business because I was offered to go on a tour with the music business as well. And you know what stopped me? I seen a movie, The Lady Sings the Blues, with Diana Ross.
Yes.
And it scared the hell out of me. Scared the hell out of me. And I'm saying, this life is not for me.
Yes.
And I couldn't see myself walking in New York to a recording studio with this on a bus.
Yes.
And that stopped me. It really did. And yet, the crazy part is I wrote the songs. I wrote like 5 songs. And yet I became an author. Never realized I'd be walking down the same New York streets as an author and not as a... But my heart is still in the music.
Yes.
And yours is.
Yes.
No matter 30 years of schooling that you did, you should be honored, and I hope you are.
Thank you. Last month we went to Lake Junaluska in North Carolina. The Dovels were there, and my husband and I went as we just took like a mini vacation because we usually go away in the fall, so we figured we would go there. And it was really nice. It was at this Lake Junaluska. It was like a resort, and Jimmy Clanton was there, and the Dovels. Yes. So it was very nice, and they called me on stage. Just a dream. Yes, and they called me on stage to do this Bristol Stomp, and I met a lot of nice people there, made a lot of friends, and that was nice. So I enjoyed doing things like that. I really do. I think the one accomplishment that I will always hold, dear to my heart, besides from my husband and marrying my husband and my 2 children and my 4 grandchildren, is the fact that I worked with special education. That means very much
well, that tells
to
me
me
what kind of person you are.
Oh,
right
thank
there.
you. And when I see my students and they come over to me and give me a hug, and I see they're doing well and they're successful in life, it just makes me feel so good inside. That's my life. That's me. This is so much fun, and this is all keeping me busy now that I'm retired. And I love it, and I love the Dovels, and I love the music and my dancing. But if I touched one life, with the special education and the children I worked with and the teenagers, then I feel like I did something in life, because that meant so much to me.
I think the Dovels would say the same thing, because it always takes one person. In my life right now, right at present, I'm going to give those tributes to Ron Homer, and that's a shock to him. But it always takes people that that's doing things for you,
Right.
And you're doing a lot for the Dovells, and the Dovells out there. If you are listening, next time you see her, give her a big hug and kiss to
they
say
will.
we do
They
appreciate
do.
you. We appreciate you,
They do.
and I think you do.
They do.
Because you're one of a kind. I wish I had somebody like you when I was in the music business, because I probably would have been in Hollywood.
I'm very persistent, and once I get involved with something, I give it up like 110% of myself.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of person I am. When I was working with special ed, I would think of what I could do with the kids. How could I help them? How could I make them better? How can I make them learn better? It's just my personality. I'm very persistent, and so when I work with the Dovells, I push, I promote, I do. It's just.
Any children?
I have 2 sons, 2 grandsons.
And how old are they?
One's 42 and 44. Yes,
So
42 and 44.
are they fans of?
They're
don't care.
not really.
They don't care.
They listen to me once in a while, but they're busy raising their children. I have 4 grandchildren.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
But I'm sure you have stories to tell.
Yeah, I do.
Stories to tell. I mean, I know when I sit down with my grandchild, and he's 21. He says, "I didn't know you did all that."
Right.
I said, "Do you see how I did all that? You can too."
Well, my grandson, who's 19 years old, he told me that he'll tell his friends that my grandmother's Bristol stomping Bonnie, and he told me he's in college now, and he had a course, the history of rock and roll. And they were learning about the Dovells and the Bristol Stomp. And then he said to me, "What was that guy, Chubby Checkers? What's his real name?" And I said, "Ernest Evans." He said, "Oh, darn it, I flunked the test because I didn't know his name." And I just thought it was so funny because
he lived down the street from me in Germany.
yeah, to us it's like nothing, but it's the history of rock and roll.
It's interesting. Did you ever think, being the president of the fan club, or did the Dovells ever think of it, that you just as I'm wearing? Did you ever think of getting T-shirts that when they do they're giving out or selling T-shirts?
Yes, we have talked about that, and they're thinking about it. In fact,
I mean, that would be really. I mean, I did a thing on you on Facebook with the Dovells on the Facebook,
right? Yes,
and I think that I was looking at that and I'm saying that on a T-shirt, and whenever they perform,
right?
Because you're also the star. Believe it or not, you also, just like Chubby Checker when he does the twist. It's who's doing the twist. It's not who's singing it, but. If it was on T-shirts,
Well, it's funny. I did make a T-shirt. I have something on my computer, and I was able to make "I Love the Dovells" and put a picture on one of my T-shirts. And everybody was asking me where could I buy one, and it was just computer generated.
Yes.
And I told the Dovells about that, and they said they're definitely going to think about that. And they have a new CD coming out called "From the Vault." Mm-hmm. And they have a bunch of songs, 22 songs on it from their songs that were released years and years ago, maybe over 40 years ago, and they're now all on one CD. And they're going to start promoting that. That's going to be available on their website, which is thedovells.com.
Unbelievable. Well, that's what I think you should. I think they should have it. And you should have it because this will just break the ice. A T-shirt,
right?
And then on one side the picture of the Dovells, and on the front side your picture with the Dovells dancing. And,
you got
it. Then every time they have a concert,
right?
Or you go to Reading with a concert, you're selling them, and somebody's making money. The both of you are making money, or you can donate it to a cause.
Right.
You can donate it.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
It's just food for thought because I mean I'm in every business here with a credit and everything else.
Yes, that's a good idea.
It's interesting. It's a pleasure. First of all, it was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be
here. The hour goes so quick. And I knew it would.
Yes.
Because I'm into rock and roll. I'm into the business. And so were you. And I knew it would click. But the people out there, when it comes to rock and roll, let's not ever make it go away. Because once it goes away and the music is done, we're done.
Right.
And as you know, the music, it's not that, I'm prejudiced of the music today. But I am. I don't like it. I'm sure, I'm blunt to the point. And I just don't get it. Because it'll never make history. Rock and roll will always make history, but we have to keep it alive through our kids, our grandkids.
Right.
Keep on playing it in your living room, as my father did, because that's how I got attracted to it. If you keep on playing it over and over again, it's got to hit home somewhere. And then when we're dead and gone, or we're in our 90s, we can sit in the rocking chairs and we can still hear the Dovells We can still see her dancing, or we can still do a lot of things
With my
that we
walker.
wanted to do and couldn't because we can't get out of our rocking chairs. Don't forget, next week we have the computer show. If you don't know anything about computers and you think you're being scammed on the computers or viruses, you don't want to miss next week's show. And you're going to get your pencils and papers out. We have the following week. We have, guess what? Fireman Mike back on the air. I mean, he made such an impression.
Yeah.
He's back on. Then we have Valerie Morrison. And we also have my cousin who passed away. And that's going to be a really good show on Where is Heaven? And that's going to be the show then. Then we have Dr. Paul and the cold laser therapy. We have so much great shows coming up. And then the big show is the cancer show. Is there a cure for cancer? Well, you're going to find out. And I hope this makes history. Is there a cure for cancer? You're going to find out. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Pearl.
This
wonderful.
is Pearl Polto,
Thank
as
you.
always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due, as I always say. Tonight, it's the Bonnie. She gets the
you.
credit.
Thank you.